Yeah, let's do it. Okay, so I think we're gonna start off with Anne. And I've seen Anne quite a bit inside the chats, but I've never reviewed any materials from Anne. So Anne, I'm excited to finally review some of your materials. We're gonna invite you to the stage, and if you'll be willing to share us a little bit about who you are, and then the kind of work that you do and what you're hoping to accomplish today. Let me invite you to the stage. Let me go and open your thing. Oh yeah, let me also share screen so we can follow along what's happening. Do I want Figma to access my local network so it can do MCP stuff? The answer is not right now. Just because, yeah. I think this is it. Okay, cool. Not now. Hopefully that's showing okay. And Anne, I can't hear you yet. Maybe you haven't said much, but.
Oh.
Hello. I heard
Hello.
you. Do you want to, Anne, will you go ahead and share a little bit about who you are, what you do, and what your goals are today?
Sure. So I just started studying graphic design on my own a few years ago. And, yeah.
That's great. Now, what kind of market are you a graphic designer for, such as startups, big corporate world, small, medium businesses? Maybe you're into like the restaurant world. Maybe you're in the medical world.
I haven't decided yet.
Okay.
So I guess all of them for now.
All of them is a great choice. And you know what? I am definitely with you on that sometimes too. And can you also share a little bit about maybe some of your goals? Like, such as, I'm assuming you're trying to get hired right now. Do you know who you would like to hire you? If you're looking for freelance, maybe full-time employee.
I guess like I think you mean like what companies or I just like I guess I was thinking some that are near where I live so I don't have to relocate. So like maybe I'm interested in tech companies. So like Apple, Google are some that I was looking at.
Okay. Well, then let's dive in. Nate, do you want to lead the charge on resumes, since I think resumes are a little more in your specialty?
Sure, yeah, happy to talk about this. And first off, appreciate you being here, particularly being the first one. That's usually the scary portion of this. So I appreciate you stepping up there and swinging at that ball. Resumes, a lot of potential conversations we could dive down in regard to resumes. I should warn everybody that's now on the chat, we are streaming and recording this live. So at the chat, if you scroll to the very top, you'll find a link to our YouTube channel. It's currently live stream recorded, and I say that with the disclaimer that everything we look at today is being recorded and streamed to the larger world. So if there's anything you don't want us to publicize today, you either have to modify it on the fly before we take a look at it, or let us know that like, hey, I'm not prepped to share this with the regular world. Pull me off of the chat for the time being. All of which is totally fine. Happy to take a look at some stuff later. And you're designing your resume in Figma. And Figma has a myriad of pros and cons, advantages and disadvantages when it comes to designing print collateral. Figma is so good at making stuff visually aesthetic and visually hierarchically consumable. Really awesome for that. It's less awesome at enabling parsability. So submitting a resume, for example, into an ATS, Figma is going to struggle with things like that. Are you familiar with the term ATS and what that means, Anne?
Yes.
Perfect. Yeah. So one of the areas that Figma will struggle is it's not a print specific utility. Therefore, it doesn't have a lot of the capability that the other print utilities have. If you were to save this as a PDF, we would likely find that the information would be parsed in an incorrect order. And then we also run into like other adjacent hurdles, like the sizing of your document is likely not in a formal sizing. Do you happen to know if it's in an 8.5 by 11 or whatever country you're from, whatever the standardization size is? Do you know if it's that standard size?
No.
Yeah, that's and totally understandable because Figma does not portray that in an accurate way. So, FYI, Figma will likely be a friction point for you. You'll want to in the future move to a more accredited printing application. And I hate to say it, but something like Google Docs or Microsoft Word will likely be one of your better options here, despite their limitations in visual hierarchy and visual aesthetic, which is a bummer, but such is life at the moment. Let's talk about the actual content of the resume itself. You have got, let me pull it up on my screen here. Oop. So you've got, looks like 4 sections: experience, skills, tools, volunteer activities. Did I hear that you were just getting started in the industry?
Yes.
Perfect. Now you're doing a lot of things right here. First off, experience is the most important section, and I love that you're expressing that immediately. There are a couple of things that are potentially missing with advantages and disadvantages. Like, for example, location isn't present here, pros and cons to that. There are companies not listed here, which is interesting. Oh, wait, hang on. Graphic designer, marketing. So it looks like the third one has an organization listed, but not the first 2. Is that accurate?
Yes.
And what's the objective behind that?
The first 2 are it's just me like freelancing or yeah.
Got it. Okay. I would love to see some sort of expression that this is a freelance job as opposed to generic, like it could be anybody. So if you were to display something like comma freelance work or whatever your business title is, or the what's the name for it? The doing business as name, whatever that name could be listed there as well. Is that making sense? Like comma freelance, just to describe that it's who the organization is with?
Yes.
Perfect. All right, cool. And then skills, tools, volunteer activities, all of that looks great. Oh, and I didn't see education down at the bottom. Cool. Tim, I'm going to dive into the bullets themselves. Is there any high-level stuff I've missed along the way that you've noticed?
Yeah. So, and about like using Figma for rendering PDFs, I went ahead and exported your resume as a PDF. So I'm looking at the PDF version of it right now on my screen. And you can kind of see that when I drag my mouse across it, it kind of is grabbing the text a little weird. Now, what's important about this is that this could demonstrate that something is up, but it also could demonstrate something completely false. Like we've done this test before where it like sometimes shows that it doesn't work very well, and sometimes it does work. The issue is that Figma renders PDF. When you build a PDF, there's a certain level of metadata that needs to be structured the correct way so you can read PDFs the right way. And so an ATS might read this a different way. And Adobe might be rendering your PDF with a tendency towards like the pixel level fidelity rather than the grabbability of this text information. So that's one reason we recommend you might use a different tool. Someone in the chat mentioned they might use like Adobe Acrobat to reprocess this or something, or you could even use like a tool that flattens PDFs and then use the flattened version of the PDF, which kind of just straightens out some of your metadata. But this is just an example of what we're talking about, where this could be an issue, or it really could not be an issue. Your mileage might vary. When we're also building resumes, we are interested in seeing specifically a section that has a little bit about maybe I guess you probably removed your email because this is live right now. I'm assuming this would be your email though, where it says email me, email me, email me. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, that's pretty smart. I love it. You know, it's attention grabbing. It does remind me of like those dreams when people have where they like read a book and the book says "wake up, wake up, wake up," instead of like actual words because they're asleep and they're trying to wake themselves up. Just one of those things that haunts me a little bit. But we're also looking for single column layouts in a resume. So as Nate goes through this, one thing to think about is maybe if you can structure this. So instead of it having experience over here and skills over here, having experience full width across, and then skills maybe somewhere underneath that experience section. Even though it's not as visually appealing, it's easier for an ATS system to read it, and it does feel a little bit more formal. And so there's some good pros and cons to doing that kind of setup. And then, but at a super high level, I would probably align some of these things. You can kind of see the skill sections not aligned with your experience section over here. This could be just an artifact of like maybe you made some edits really quickly before this. But I would do some stuff to just make these visually aligned, even if you don't change the actual layout of like from multi-column to single column. That'd be my high level feedback for you on the visual design of portion of your resume.
Okay.
Let's talk about the bullets themselves, Anne, because I think this is probably the largest area of opportunity for growth on this particular resume. In the chat, I'm going to paste in a link for you. This is an application called Resi. The only reason I recommend it to folk on here is because it's free to access and enables you to argue with an AI on how to best make a resume. I linked to a Notion document that I have that enables one to get a free pro account, which is helpful. The benefit there being the bullets that you've currently written they have the most opportunity for growth here. So when writing resume bullets, there are a few common formulaic structures that one can follow that if one follows them, it's really hard to write a bad bullet. So what I'm trying to express here is your current first bullet: design new flyers and marketing materials to increase reach and sales revenues for multiple accounts. There's nothing wrong with this bullet on paper. The hurdle is every other graphic designer applying for this job could write a similar bullet, and it applies to them as well. So this bullet is generic for the industry and isn't specific to you. It doesn't differentiate you in any fashion. So one of the common structures that I recommend to folk is to write a bullet format in the approach of a what, how, why format. I'm going to type that in the chat. And if you were to write a bullet that answers the what, how, why approach, really hard to write a bad one. So let me give an example. What I did was I designed new flyers and marketing materials to increase reach and sales revenue for multiple accounts. How I did that is through working with the developers and working with X, Y, and Z business stakeholder to best understand target audience. Why? To better increase revenue of sales. Something like that. And you'll have to finesse the verbiage there. But if one follows that format, really hard to write a bad one. Let me pause there for a second, Anne. How is that sounding so far? Is that making sense?
Yes. Sounds
Cool.
good.
So that's the what, how, why approach. If there was one facet on your resume that I think needs the most care to review, it would probably be the content of the bullets itself. From there, we would probably want to move into replacing your resume with an ATS-friendly resume, that of like Microsoft Word or Google Docs, some sort of print application. And then from there, we can start finessing the smaller details of the thing. But like in order, I would say first work on your bullet points, make sure that follows a what, how, why approach. If you're feeling fancy, you can flip it to a why, how, what approach. A lot of benefits there. But so work on your bullet points, transfer it to a print application, and then come back to us in a week and we'll take a look again and we'll see what the next steps are for you to tackle. How's that sounding? Does that feel like a game plan you can follow?
Yes.
I'm also going to advise you to stick to one main idea per bullet point. So for example, under graphic design, you have design new flyers and marketing materials. So this is one bullet point. So design new flyers and marketing materials. But then you researched content strategy, information architecture, and accessibility. And you can see here that this bullet point is kind of a little bit lean. It has 3 ideas in here about information architecture, accessibility, and content strategy, but not a lot of information about any 3 of those. I would recommend taking those 3 and kind of stretching them out a little bit. Additionally, if you're not sure what to write, one thing to think about is when you're being matched for jobs, they're typically comparing you against a list of requirements and a list of attributes. And that list of attributes is otherwise known as a job description. So if you'd like to be hired as a graphic designer, I'm just assuming you would, but say you want a graphic designer role, what you could do is look up common graphic designer job descriptions and look at the bullet points that they have and see if you can adapt those bullet points into your resume. Now, you won't want to copy paste them because then you'll be a little too generic, but you do want to recognize that if I was a recruiter, there's recruiters, there's HR people, and there's also designers who will look at your stuff. As a recruiter, I'm going to use a keyword matching system, ATS, and other things that will help me match your resume to my job description. And so the more that your resume matches the job descriptions for roles that you apply to, the more likely you are to appear higher on that list. So that's something I recommend. look at job descriptions, see what the job descriptions have, spread out these bullet points so you have room to talk about the what, how, why of each of these, and additionally to show the proof. One thing you can do that kind of gives you a little bit of an edge. Maybe a lot of people put on here that they design new flyers, and maybe a lot of people do it to increase sales revenue, and maybe a lot of people do it for multiple counts, and maybe a lot of people do it for a why reason. What you can also do is include in here a metric about what impact it had. So you could say like design new flyers that increase sales revenues by this percentage or this amount. And it shows that you're someone who's in touch with your impact. It also makes it a lot more personal because not everyone gets to put that number down. That number is a number that belongs to you. So this becomes a little bit more owned by you. Otherwise, though, Anne, I am seeing all the right sections on here. You have a good experience section, or at least an experience section with stuff on it, which is important to include. You do have an education section, which, by the way, biochemistry, two of a kind. I also have a degree in biochemistry, which is surprising to a lot of people, but that's where my early passions were. Biochemistry is super cool. You're doing the right thing by not including years there as well. You do have a volunteer activity section. This is not as important, but it is definitely a good brownie points. I've seen roles that do require you to have volunteer experience, and so I don't think you're at fault for including this. Tools, you could probably include your tools section in your skills section if you'd like to, and you have a skill section. I would consider turning this skill section into a paragraph. So it's UX design, comma, visual design, comma, branding, comma, marketing, comma, HTML. And I would include it here at the bottom underneath your education section. So just like you have your education section here, you have to go experience, education, and then your skills. One thing to keep in mind is that as you are building these out, this is just a point of order. When you build a bullet point all the way across, it's been recommended to me that you try not to leave any empty space. So you either have a single line that is a full line all the way across, or you have a bullet point that is two full lines across, or at least halfway across. So you're not leaving any empty space. That empty space is important real estate that you get to use. And how do you feel about all the feedback we shared with you so far, though? Is there anything you want us to dive more into, or is this okay so far?
Yeah, it's good so far.
That's great. Nate, I don't know if I have any other directions.
I got nothing on my side. There are certainly things we could nitpick on. There are certainly further conversations we could have, but I think all of them are layman compared to what we've talked about so far, which are the most important things you need to work on. So work on those. Happy to take a look at a later time. Otherwise, I think you're well on the right track.
Okay, thank you.
And take a look at this thing to get that ATS checker. And good luck.
Okay, thank you.
All right, let's see. Next on the list, we've got Aliyu.
I feel like I recognize this person here.
Who could
Aliyu,
this be?
Let me invite you to the stage, Aliyu, and let's get you going. So if you'll go ahead and remind us a little bit about who you are, such as what kind of designer you are, what kind of market you're interested in being in, the specialties that you have, and then what your goals are today.
Hello, Nate. Hello, Tim. Yeah. So yeah, I've been here a couple of times, for portfolio review, and now I would love to take it to the next level to review my CV, and I also have a new case study there, which I would love, if you guys could be able to go through, and if time permits, a case study also. So yeah, I'm looking for a role. Maybe if opportunity comes, maybe a freelance. So yeah, I'm bit ambivalent between the two. I think I'm somehow stuck in the middle. Whichever comes, I'm okay with it. So yeah, but now my case study and my CV.
That's Perfect.
Oh.
We're excited to go through those. We're going to ask you to pick one or the other. So we can go through your new case study or we can go through your resume today.
Aliyu, I want to talk about your resume. We talked about your case studies before, but I don't think we've ever talked about your resume, right?
Yeah, we haven't talked about the resume before. The case study is a new case study. I guess I can leave it for next week.
Go ahead and feel free, whichever one you think is more important to review. We'll follow your lead. I would argue that your resume will probably provide the most value, considering we've talked about your case studies before.
Yeah, let's go for it. Let's go for it then.
Sounds great. Now, when you share your resume, do you share it in this Google Drive link or do you share it as a PDF?
I share it from here. Actually,
Okay.
it's linked to my my portfolio, so I've never like shared directly from here. It's always, you access it from my portfolio.
Gotcha. So what I'd recommend is if you go in there to file, you can go to file, there's a tab called download. You can download it as a PDF. And this is a hassle, I know, but download it as a PDF, then re-upload it into your drive as a PDF and set that link to share with everyone. Basically make it a public link. And then you can share that PDF. Now this is important because a lot of times you have to submit a PDF version of your resume. And also recruiters are going to they want to download your thing as a PDF as well. So having that PDF format's a little bit nice. Additionally, when you name it, I'm going to recommend that you name it last name, comma, first name, resume. So last name, comma, first name, resume. Or if you want to you can just do last name, resume, and then have the thing. But that's like just kind of the industry standard. Sometimes people even use they'll use words. They'll use an underscore. They'll use an underscore inside the name. So it'll be their last name underscore resume. So just look for some formats like that make it a little bit standard. Then if you do it that way, it helps people not forget what they're looking at. I also don't know if CV, I think CV is a little bit different from a resume. A CV is typically like a Word. It's like a text document almost, usually is in what I've seen. It's like a list of accolades and stuff that's mostly relevant for people who are researchers or have like very long publishing history, like as a professor or something. That's where I've seen CV used the most. I could be totally wrong on that though.
Yeah, I think you're right on point.
Nate, where should we start?
I'm looking at this thing. There's a lot of stuff on here. This is great. Where's the best place to start?
So when people look at your resumes, there are at least 3 groups of people you have to be ready for your resume to go to. One is going to be recruiters. So, recruiters often are using ATS systems, but essentially it's someone who can look at this and identify, are you a person who matches the job that they're looking for? They're going to be looking at keywords. They're going to be looking at like technical proficiency, essentially the low hanging fruit stuff. 2, you might have people who are HR people look at your resume. They just want to make sure nothing's like weird. They might be looking for like general behavior stuff, maybe more like culture fits. And then you may have technical people such as other designers or people who are in your profession, such as like a lead or a VP designer, looking at your stuff to validate that. But for the most part, you need to focus on the recruiter and the ATS system. So ATS systems, they do really well when you have certain size fonts, and they do really well when you have certain layouts, which is the non-column layout, single column, just paragraph style layout. And you have that. So you're using bullets in the right places. You have clear things here. There are maybe a couple of opportunities to change some of this. For example, you have your job title up here with your date, and then you have the name and place listed here. I might recommend combining these a little bit. People are not always as interested in where you worked in as much as what you were doing while you work there. So you could change this to say right here in the bold, customer success specialist dash Leadway Pensure PFA Limited dash, and then the place where you worked. Or you could also put the place where you worked in parentheses, or you could do that with a job that you worked at. But people mostly want to see this, and having this double layout may may just take up a little more room than it needs to. It also gets a little bit harder to read and kind of identify this from a scanning perspective. We are also seeing you have a skill section, you have a core competency section, which I'm going to ask you about later and how that's different from your skills section. You are using 3 pages, which I'm going to hazard here, Aliyu, and I'm going to say 3 pages is probably too many pages. Most people, if you're asking the old guard will say you do a 1-page resume. That's it. If you're asking me and semi younger people in the place, we're going to say two-page resume is fine, as long as it's a full 2 pages, or at least a mostly full 2-page resume. 3 pages, though, that might be heresy. You might be breaking a fundamental law of the universe by doing 3 pages. So that's going to be those are my early insights, though. I'm sure Nate's been reading this, though, and we'll have a little bit more detail to go into 4 bullet points and like actual strategy of some of your content here.
I've got some thoughts here. So I'm looking at the sections that you have in your resume. Core competencies, that's an odd one. We'll talk about that one here in a second. Then you've got technical skills, and then you've got an experience section, except that it's not labeled experience. So we'll want to toss a label on there. The benefit being that the label will reinforce that ATSs will parse it in a consumable fashion. They will recognize the word experience because that's the common technical phrase used in the industry. They will then consume the content with the understanding that it's experience. Remember, so Tim was talking about the multiple audiences. ATSs, unfortunately, are one of the ones that we have to strive for. And then we've got education and certifications, if we scroll down to the second page, followed by featured projects. So, Aliyu, remind me, you had just graduated and you are now entering the workforce. Is that accurate?
No, I have experience in sales and marketing. I've worked for a couple of years, and now I'm transitioning to design. AK
Got it. Okay, more on the career pivoting portion. All right, cool. Dope. There are a couple of things here that. How do I describe this? So the quantity of information you have on your resume has advantages and disadvantages. While in regard to the consumption of an ATS and the more stuff you can put on there, kind of the better in terms of keyword searching and keyword matching, it comes at the sacrifice of when a human looks at it, the stuff that is less important become a distraction from reading the stuff that is important. The recruiter and the hiring manager, if they're going to have a stack of resumes on their desk, they'll have the left pile and the right pile. And ideally, you want to end up in the right pile. That's the pile that gets furthered along the interview process. That's the people that they end up talking with. The consequence with having more stuff and removing yourself further away from the standardization of layout, the less skimmable, less consumable it is for human standards. So the problem there being, if it's less skimmable for human, it's more likely to end up on the left pile, which is why we try to standardize the layouts as much as possible. For example, somebody in the chat was mentioning earlier, hey, this is a graphic design resume, shouldn't have graphic design appeal and aesthetic appeal. Consider that the sliding graph of the more visual appeal it has, while cool for graphic design, means it leans further away from standardization, thus less skimmable for human consumption, which is a bummer.
Exactly.
So you've got, let me pause there. Is all that making sense so far?
Absolutely, Nate. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's making absolute sense. Thank you.
Yeah, cool. So in regard to the sections, now we have to argue what sections are the most important sections to have on the resume and which ones are a distraction from the important stuff to read. And that's where I would argue the featured projects, unless you're brand new to the industry and you've got like nothing else to fill on there, featured project will be a waste of time. You can incorporate featured projects ideally into the bullets within the organization that you worked for. So like, for example, you've got a Shaman legal website UX redesign. Is there a place on your resume where you could relocate that in your experience section?
No.
Why not?
Because some of the experiences there are not actually from design. They were sales, marketing, account management experience. The experiences have nothing to do with product design.
Okay. If that's the case, Tim, feel free to argue with me on this one. My gut would then be to reposition the effort of featured projects and reposition it as freelance effort even if it is not like super accurately descriptive of the effort that he's done. My goal there being, I want to position him with experience as a designer, but I also want to remove the future project section. How do you feel about that, Tim?
Yes. What I would recommend is having one section for all of your experiences. I'm not a fan with a couple of exceptions of separating out your different types of experiences, because your resume should be telling one universal story rather than multiple stories. So yeah, I stopped screen sharing so I could log into Google, but the Google's attached to Nate's phone and I'd have to get a verification from Nate's phone. So I wasn't able to do it. I didn't send you the notification, but I when we're looking at this, I'm missing the break here where it says like experiences or like work experience. And coming down here, this is the stuff that's relevant to the job you want to get, right? So this is like you're telling two different stories here. You're telling a story about like what you're doing right now versus what you want to be doing. And your resume needs to tell one story, the story that you wanted to tell. Aliyu, you have the ability to tell whatever story you want to tell. A resume is not a legal document, right? There's no legal document here. Now, if they do run a background check on you, don't lie about stuff they're running a background check on or things like that. And you don't need to be like manipulative or deceptive. But I would definitely say that if you want to get hired as a product designer, you should be showing your product design work up here. You should be listing that as stuff that you've done. And then you can include within that, you can say like my work experience or like experiences. And then I would list these out here as part of your I did resume screen sharing. Yes, Evan. I would list those out under here so you have all of your experiences in the same place. And so that way, when I'm looking at you as a product designer, I can see the kind of projects that you've worked on before. You may need to restructure it a little bit, especially to reflect which ones you have been paid for, which ones you haven't been paid for. But at the end of the day, is this a real project? Like, did you actually do real work with this? Did you talk to real people about it? Is this like a viable thing that could work? And if the answer is like, yes, this is like a real thing that you did over here, which I'm pretty sure it is because we've looked at this before. It's on here somewhere. A lot of these are on here. Let's see. Maybe that one isn't on here, but is this it?
It's there. It's there. I think it's maybe
I think
you can just go down a bit. It's there.
Gotcha.
Yeah, this is you've passed it.
Legal or
legal mastering.
there it is right there. Yeah, so you have this is like a real project, a real thing. You can list that here under your experience.
So I'm trying to focus, to project myself as a product designer, and I also would like to be able to show my experiences in sales, and marketing, because somehow I feel like there are some transferable skills, from sales and marketing, which I can be able to also take advantage of as a product designer, and I don't know how I can be able to do that without confusing, the recruiters or, that's because if I'm going to remove some of these experiences from there, that means probably I'll be going into the industry or getting into the industry with zero experience. Yeah.
What I would focus and we're all different people. If I were in your position though, I would change core competencies and technical skills to be the same section. And I would move this section probably, since you're new in here, I might actually keep it at the top since you're new to the industry. That way someone who looks at this will see all of your heavy stuff on here up at the top. So I would consider only keep one of these sections, but make sure you combine those sections either way. So you can show that you have the full range here. And then what I would do is the next section I would title it, just call it experience, and then I would list your most impactful design work experiences, and then after that I would list your normal job experiences. And then you've already rewritten a lot of these to reflect UX design and product design principles, right? So you have like analyze user adoption rate, right? We already have the rewrite, so that's really good. However, you gotta rewrite these job titles too. Now again, don't lie. Don't put like VP of design at DeSevens Digital or anything like that. But you could probably say like account manager with focus on like user with like account manager with focus on user adoption or something like that, something that you can speak to that's within your resume's description here. So you can help guide people to the story you're trying to tell, which is that, you know, you were an account manager here at Letter, or you currently are, but here's the things that you focused on, which is like all very product designy type stuff. And so you can help this job title reflect your work a little bit there, a little bit more on that side. And then you do not need to include the years of certificates down here. Otherwise, people may try to out you with that. You don't need to include those things. I think you don't need to separate certificates from academic degrees. You can just put like certificates or like education and then have them listed probably all together. And that will save you a little bit of room.
Tim,
So
I'm
the
reading
certificates
through.
and education would be together in one place.
Yes, I'd combine a lot of this. Definitely you can save a lot of room just by kind of moving some of these things around.
All right, gotcha.
Tim, I'm reading through the experience section, which again needs a title. My original perception was that Aliyu was describing, yeah, I work in these other things, but because it wasn't design stuff, I don't want to like position myself as having no experience. Reading through the bullets, Aliyu, these are pretty solid UX bullet points. These position you as a designer. Tim, I want to delete the featured project section entirely. How do you feel about that argument?
I think that the featured project section, each of these, you should choose one or two of your strongest contenders. One or two of them, maybe even just one. You could write one. You could even do one where you make yourself as a freelance role. So you can include a role, but it needs to be written in the format that you have up here. So it should say product designer, and then maybe you're working for yourself. You're naming your own agency, your own thing. It's remote, and then you list when you're doing that from. And then in the bullet points, you talk about these different projects.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes some sense.
Yeah, but what I am seeing here is when I look at your whole thing, this feels like an appendage to your resume currently, which is the worst way to do this. It feels like you had a good resume and then you copy pasted a featured project section to the back end of it, which I'm assuming is not what you really did, but maybe you did. I don't know. No judgment. But you definitely need to front load some of this experience over here at the top. So you need to show that product designer role title. Remember, if you want to get a job, you need to show that you have that job title here. So you have it up here. You need to make sure it's reflected in some of these, making sure that the words you use to describe your job title are indicative of your type of role focus, without lying. And then include up here that you're like a designer currently. Designer, product designer at. You can even just put your name, product designer at Momo or at Aliyu right here. Just put your name there, and then in wherever you are, London, UK, remote, if that's the case for where you're working from. And then you can include in your bullet points just bullet points that talk about projects. So example, you talk about like conducted quarterly reviews with however many projects with 5+ clients. You did it for 5 clients over here. These are technically 5 different clients because they're 5 different projects that you're doing, and talk about it with that kind of language.
Yeah, that makes lots of sense. Yeah.
Aliyu, I've got a summary here.
Oh,
Sorry, I cut you off. Were you describing something?
no. I was actually appreciating the feedback.
Yeah, man. Appreciate you coming back to us with this. Excellent resume. A lot of cool stuff going on here. The summary of what we've described so far. 1, add a title to the experience section. Just needs to say experience. Combine the core competencies and the technical skills. That just needs to be one section. And then both Tim and I agree that the featured project section can be removed. I argue to just delete it entirely. It looks like Tim's arguing to find a way to incorporate it elsewhere, ideally in the experience section. And then ideally, we'd start the resume with the most important thing, the most impressive thing. based on your experience, I think the experience is still more important than your skills. But if you're feeling, I could see the argument either way. I think the experience is strong enough to start with it. Tim, it sounds like you think the skill section is still more prominent.
It's about front loading your resume with the job title that you want. And so if you're not able to include this feature project section at like to include something that says like, hey, as a freelance designer, as a product designer, I've done work for these people before as one job description here, and you're not able to rewrite some of these titles to reflect product designer, UX design, etc. I think you need to keep this at the top only so you can front load the fact that you do UX research, strategy, etc. It is much stronger though narratively if you're able to put your experiences first and your experiences reflect these things. In fact, typically these core competencies, you take these, you put these inside of your descriptions, right? You don't typically have a section that's like, here's all the things I'm good at. You say, here's all the places I've worked that show all the things that I'm good at. And then you have a technical skills section, which is for ATS keyword optimization. So because so far in this front page, you don't currently have that job title, product designer or account manager with product design focus or et cetera, you're stronger with this. But if you were able to condense this featured project section into one job title or one role description, talking about your work as a product designer, I think then this goes to the bottom.
This time, got you. Got you. Yeah. That's gold. I appreciate. Yeah. You guys are superstars. Yeah. So, and I don't know. I used AI, yeah, to work on this resume. So I don't know how that might affect me. Or what do you guys advise I do with regards to? What's your take on it?
I'm struggling to hear you a little bit. It sounds like you're describing what's our take on utilizing AI for building your resume.
I used AI for this resume, so I don't know how that might affect me.
It'll affect your resume by making it sound way more professional. I'm a big fan of using AI in your resume, and if you aren't, then everybody else is.
Yep, I've heard some people say you shouldn't write anything anymore. You should just let AI write it. I don't believe that. I'm not that far gone. And I do believe that AI, if everyone uses AI, everyone will sound like AI. So you lose your personality. What I recommend doing though is using AI to help you condense and sort and categorize information, because that's what AI is very good at doing. It's very good at patterns. It's very good at pattern recognition. It's very good at identifying what templates to follow and using AI to help you recognize here's what a good job description or here's what a good role on a resume sounds like and looks like generally. Then you can say, all right, here's how I can make this my own now. So if you are saying, for example, that you took your information, you just say, hey, make me a resume, and you copy pasted that in here, you may be losing some of your soul in that regard. But if you are instead saying, I have these things, help me rewrite this so it matches what I'm looking for a little more, I would say that's probably a better use of AI. And that's the right way to go. I commend you on that. I recommend that everyone, whenever you're using any of your materials, you at least double check with AI. Not that you should follow everything AI says, guys. Don't follow everything the AI says. But it's always good to get a second or a third opinion through an AI, because the AI has a completely different perspective than we often have and is a little bit more, guys, they're using AI to write job descriptions. So if you're using AI to help you write your resume, chances are you'll have more alignment with the job descriptions that way. So.
Gotcha. Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you very much, guys. I don't know if
Well, Aliyu,
I'm looking at the clock. Appreciate hanging out with you, man. Appreciate talking with you again.
Yeah, thank you very much, Tim. Thank you very much, Nate. Appreciate taking your time to go through our unorganized stuff.
Absolutely. We love to have you here, and we'll be excited to maybe take a look at your case study next time you want to come by, or if you want to make some edits to your resume, we'll re-review your materials for you. So,
Yeah.
and also, guys, if
Well,
you're looking for a pretty good like product designer, we've reviewed these materials in the past, and they're solid. They have a lot of great skills, and they're not lying when they talk about some of these being their core competencies and skills. So if you're out there looking for a good product designer, you're looking at one.
Thank you very much for the nice words. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Tim, next up on the list, we've got Adisa. Looks like we're taking a look at our first portfolio for the day.
Hey, it's about time we did a portfolio. Adisa, if you'll go ahead, as I invite you on, if you'll talk a little bit about who you are, what kind of market you're designing for, maybe specialties or things that set you apart, and then any goals that you have, such as getting hired, organic discovery, freelance, etc.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hi. I'm so glad to be here. Thank you. So, this is my portfolio, and I graduated 2 years ago from California State University East Bay, and my major is graphic design and illustration, and I also do fine art. I'm a mixed media artist. So my goal is to hopefully actually I should say it this way, since I was in college, like my last year of college, I started volunteering at a nonprofit called Artseed, San Francisco Presidio. So, and I've been working on my portfolio, sharpening my projects, and I'm really hoping like starting like maybe next year, starting a freelancing. Um, and also I have children's book that I did in my senior project illustration, and I've been trying to do as well, like start a second one, and just been doodling and drawing things like that.
All right.
Yeah,
All right. So here's what I've caught, and make sure to correct me if I'm wrong on anything. I'm hearing you're a graphic designer. You're based in California.
Yes.
You have a really good summary of the stuff here that you talked about, but you do a bunch of stuff. This is your portfolio that you built, maybe you said 2 years ago?
I've been working on it like I really started like last year, like taking it more seriously, like sharpening my projects and like I'm using Squarespace.
I did see that. I did see Squarespace. So when we talk today, do you want to focus on what part of your portfolio would you like us to focus on?
Like
Because it looks like you have a lot of sections we can look at. Do you have any particular sections? Do you just want to like a good pass and overview? Do you want content analysis? Would you like visual analysis and guidance?
visual, like overall my design, like how for like if someone as a graphic designer looking at it, like what feedback could I get? Like how is it like for a graphic designer position?
Gotcha.
Let me ask one more thing because I think I missed it, Adisa. And by the way, am I pronouncing your name correctly?
Yes, Adisa. Yep.
Perfect. I think you had mentioned a goal, but then I don't know that I wrote it down correctly. Am I hearing that your goal is to start freelancing next year?
Yes.
Got it. So you're attempting to position yourself, this website that we're looking at, the goal is to position yourself as a freelancer for the upcoming 2026 year as a hireable person that you could then, that folks could hire and contract with.
That's correct.
Got it. Understood. Okay.
And I forgot to mention one thing. Like these are all my school projects. That's my biggest fear. Like when I'm looking for a job or something like a freelancer. Like all I have is my school project. That's my biggest fear. Like not being able to find something because all I have is a school project. Like where I volunteer right now is I mostly do like check-ins, informational desk, office work. I did papers like Google Contacts, and I did fine art.
Yeah, makes sense. Adisa, you are hitting 2 points that I often struggle with. And I imagine this is probably going through Tim's brain as well. So there are, one, you have an artist background, and I am a huge fan of art. The consequence I have and the friction point I have with comprehending art is that typically art is the form of human expression, whereas graphic design is the objective of solving a problem that someone's hiring you for. So when it comes like the artistry side of things, I don't have much feedback. I don't have a background there, nor do I think that any of the feedback I provide would provide value in any fashion. In regard to graphic design and positioning yourself as somebody with business acumen, I've got some feedback there. However, that leads to friction point number 2, and that is your goal is freelance. And one of the consequences with freelancing is that you are starting your own business. And to best position yourself for freelancing, we would have to have other conversations like, who is your target audience? What differentiates your brand? How do you want to position yourself within the current target market? And all of those conversations take a bunch of time that we don't have time for on today's call. So I'm trying to figure out, based off those 2 friction points, how can I provide the most amount of value toward your goals of freelancing in 2026? Tim, feel free to redirect me here, but I'm struggling to see where I can provide the most value. Do you have any insight on where you want to take the conversation?
Yes, let's start with some of the basics. So for freelancing, you'll need to make sure you have a good network, which means that you post your work probably on social media somewhere, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, or X, formerly known as Twitter, Blue Sky. Maybe you go to Upwork, maybe you're on Fiverr, other places where you can post and attract clients. So that is something you'll need to do. And you'll have to do that outside of this. Now, your website will have to be the thing that sells you to other people when you're not there to explain yourself. Which means that if someone came to Adisa's website and I would say, hey, I'm looking for a freelancer. I see you post on LinkedIn. I'm a freelancer graphic designer who's ready to help you with your project. I come here. I want to see that you are the person that I'd like to hire. And so there's a couple. The first thing that you'll always need to make sure of is that your visuals are intact. Your visuals should communicate something about who you are. It should also be clean. It should have enough similarity to other people that they understand what they're looking at, right? Like, don't make a website that doesn't look like a website, because then I don't know I'm on a website. But also you want to make sure it looks just like you, in a sense that like it has your own personality. So this is where I'm not going to be able to comment on certain stylings. Like I won't comment on this green or this like tape or top color. It's like a purplish color. I won't comment on like your colors, for example, but I can comment on your layout here on this page and some of your things like your navigation bar. Squarespace is a good choice. Squarespace is very safe. It has very good layouts. The whole idea of the squares, that's like a box. So it like works very nicely. But I see that there are definitely some formatting and layout errors that are going to prevent people from seeing you as a professional right away. And some of these things are going to be as simple as your navigation bar is ultra cramped.
Okay.
You're going to want to make sure you spread this out by adding some pixel spacing in here. You're probably looking for something like, maybe 32 between each of these, making sure that you can like adequately, wow, I didn't realize I could open 2 tabs like that. But essentially you need to make sure there's enough space up here, and then that there is like adequate interaction states here. So if I'm like hovering on graphic design, for example, it should have a little thing that says I'm hovering over graphic design, little indicators that tell me where I am on the website. That's part of having a good web experience in general. And the more professional you can make this feel, the more complete, the better off you are at, first of all, communicating to people that you are professional. Remember that your visual design here will communicate something about who you are and about the way you think. And so showing a very clean, nice, thought out interface will help people understand that aspect of yourself. Additionally, landing pages often do better when there's a little bit of you on them, like a personal aspect. So if you want to have like a little professional image of you or like an illustration of yourself, those kind of things will help me humanize you and see you as a real person, and therefore start to understand and think about you differently. Because right now I go to this website, it's words on a page. But if I go to this website and there's a picture of you, it's words on a page that are about a person. And that person aspect is a good anchor. I'm also noticing that you are an illustrator. There are very few illustrations or graphics on this first page, and that might be an opportunity loss. You may want to consider involving some graphics or some illustrations on this landing page. So when people come here, they can intuit a little bit more about who you are and what you do, rather than you having to rely on them reading these words. Words are powerful, but more powerful than words are images, and more powerful than images are words and images that agree and tell the same story. And so if you have some good words on here that are thoughtfully positioned alongside some images and other things that help support this story, you'll be even farther along. How does that feedback sound to you so far?
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Great. Additionally, what I'm going to be looking for is you have lots of different things up here, and you may want to consider consolidating some of these menu items into one single section, because right now you have multiple portfolios. And so I would assume that you're someone who's trying to become a graphic designer, who's also an illustrator, who also does fine art, who also does graphics, who also does product design, who also does brochure design, who also does menu design. And that's a lot of job titles all at the same time. Now, it could be that you're positioning yourself to do that. And if you are, I commend you for including these all. It may be stronger, though, for you to say, I'm a graphic designer, I'm an illustrator. And then at the top menu to here, instead of portfolios, you just have like graphic design work or like my work or something, instead of having to look through all these. And then you can put all of your portfolios together in the same place. And this is like a gallery view of your projects. So I do see we have a couple of layout problems that are happening here. You can see like the words clip into the paragraphs. I will need to kind of adjust this. That way things are laying out nicely. And there's also some good web basics. I'm actually going to ask people in the chat, guys, in the chat, if you have a favorite graphic designer portfolio website that Adisa can look at, or a favorite portfolio website in general that you think Adisa should look at, guys, please put them in the chat so Adisa can look at them and kind of see some of the layouts and the patterns that they're using, so she can emulate that a little bit on her own portfolio as she's presenting her work. And what you'll probably see across some of these websites that people will put in the chat in the next little bit, hopefully, guys, help us out, put some in the chat. You'll see that often they'll have like a page where it is like the image or like some graphics, and then they'll have like a little title and a description of what is going on. Right. And so they'll show like a little bit of information about each project so they know what to click on. And it's not necessarily just a gallery like this. This is good for showing images. It's not good for showing projects though. So you're going to need a different view. You can see here, we have a couple. Let me click on just one or two of these so we can look at them. So you can see here that they have like, here's the image, right? And they have a little bit of a name, and then they have a small description about it. And once you have these, you can start to really refine this content and make it work. But and then you can go to a place where you can talk a little bit more about these graphics and stuff, and you can show off how cool they are. But I wouldn't know to click on any of these if they didn't have the titles here. And I think it's happening here is that if I go to your gallery where you're showing off all your work, I actually don't know which of these I can click on and which of them I can't, and which ones have projects behind them.
Oh, those image, the only things that have projects is where you see the words work. The other ones is template. There's not. So yeah,
Gotcha.
I was also trying to research on. I also want to take all the where it says portfolio. I didn't know. I have to figure out how to take out those where you said, yeah, that is too much. Like I want to be able to click just on an image and it takes you to the project page, not when you hover like on the portfolio and it gives you all the lists.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Totally. Well, Adisa, I think it's honestly, that's a lot of advice up front. So that's a ton of stuff to work on. And I would look forward to seeing you come back and we can chat again about the next part of it, the next thing there. There's lots of cool things and tips and tricks that we can share with you about like how to use SEO so that way you get noticed on Google, by the way. If you want people to find you on Google when they're searching for graphic designers, that's really cool. That's a cool thing you can do. If you want to know about like how to organize your page content so it's very clean and making things look nice, how to use animations, we can talk all about that. But probably the next time or even a future time after that.
Okay.
Adisa, are you okay with that? Do you feel like you have
Yes.
some good action items to start with?
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much.
Tim, I want to
Alright.
add two things real fast, and I love everything you're describing so far. Adisa, if there are two things from the marketing side that we could potentially add without knowing more about your particular project, for every business project, often there are a bunch of common things that we're looking for. The first thing we can see at the top of your screen, some sort of value proposition would be great. This is what describes who you are and what's the benefit that you're providing for your target audience. That's going to go a long way toward pushing you and positioning you toward a particular market. And then on top of that, some sort of CTA, some sort of actionable that says, hey, click this, schedule a time with me, hire me, contact me, schedule a free proposal session, some sort of CTA that you can then build analytics on and start measuring the success rate of whatever positioning and action that your target users are taking. The benefit there being that everything you do moving forward, you can then measure the validity of that particular tactic and validate that it's actually moving you in the correct direction. After all that, then it's just marketing 101 and diving into building a business. And that's a project, man. Good luck with that.
Thank you.
Tim, looking at the list.
Yeah, who's up next?
Looks like we've got M_KU66 next.
All right, let's invite him on up. I think this person's name might be Mark. Mark, if that's okay, if we call you Mark, let us know what we should call you and tell us a little bit about who you are, what kind of designer you are, your specialties, and then what your goals are, such as maybe you want to get hired, maybe you want to go freelance, maybe you're trying to be discovered organically, what your network might look like, etc. Tell us a little about who you are and your goals.
Yeah. Can you guys hear me okay?
We can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, I'm Mark, and I'm both a designer and a developer. So my formal education is in like UI UX design, but I taught myself like web development and programming. So the kind of job that I'm really looking for is a lot of like freelance web development, particularly like front end stuff. So turning like Figma designs and UIs into functional like code that like works and stuff.
Okay. And then who are you targeting with your portfolio? For example, are you trying to get hired right now? Or are you trying to hire other people? Is this just a cool website? And then if you are trying to get hired, is that by corporate, for a certain industry you're looking at, a different part of the world?
Oh, yeah, definitely. So I'm mainly looking for like smaller agencies that might need people to like develop their websites or help like make their websites more animated and interactive. And I have experience working abroad, so my main target is like English speakers and people in the West, but I do have like experience working with like Japanese clients, so like I designed my website to be able to handle both of those languages.
Totally. Nate, where do you want to start?
I don't know. Did I hear correctly that you were targeting small businesses?
Yeah, like small agency, like marketing agencies or like design agencies.
Design
Stuff like that.
agencies. Is your goal to get hired at the organization? As an FTE
maybe
or
not.
freelance?
Yeah, maybe not full time, but like contracts, or like some sort of like freelance like position.
Interesting. Okay. Got it. Well, in regard to where to start with the conversation, same hurdles we have in regard to like how one positions yourself, how one markets themselves in the market and understands the target audience. Those are deeper conversations we can't have quickly on this call.
Mm-hmm.
But in regard to where you're currently landing with your digital asset here, happy to take a deeper look into this.
I'll give my quick insights. When I look at you have a very particular, well-defined aesthetic and brand voice right at the start. There are definitely certain things about this brand that won't appeal to me because I'm not your target audience. And so separating my personal experiences from the experience I think you're hoping to have. One thing I do worry about is you have a tap to enter, and I worry that this actually impedes your SEO in your discoverability online. I don't know if you've looked into SEO at all or your GEO
Yeah.
even, but having a click to enter may force Google or other things that would otherwise index you to not be able to index your materials. Something to be really
Yeah.
careful of. It also doesn't consistently work sometimes. You see here, I'm trying to get in and I can't quite get in. The sounds are very nice though. And you do have certain animations, interactions that I think speak to if you're trying to sell someone on the interaction aspect. This does tell that story. Now,
Yeah.
as a personal user of the internet, I loathe cursor hijacking. If you want to make the cursor look fun, but having your own cursor, it looks like it has its own, I don't want to say polling rate, but like it has its own little latency built in, which makes it feel very gamey. I just hate that experience. But man, you gotta do
That's
what you gotta
valid.
do.
Yeah.
And if you think it's cool, like who am I to say other than it's not something I enjoy. Your scrolling, I notice that your scrolling has some snap features. It may not
Mhm.
snap to where I expect to go. So I might remove the snapping in favor of just having the scrolling, or at least a very gentle snap, a little more of a
Yeah.
passive snap than a like hard snap. So maybe add a little more of a Bezier curve there.
Mhm.
But your style is well defined. I am curious if you already know if this style appeals to the people you're targeting or not, or if this is like your personal style that you're kind of experimenting with and you don't know if people like this and resonate with it yet.
It's a little bit of both. I've gotten commissioned to do a project before. One of the more recent ones was like a wedding like RSVP site where they wanted like a very like animated UI with like, like animatable like SVG graphics and stuff. And they saw my portfolio and thought that I would be, a good fit for that job. So I know that it works to some capacity. I mean, on the marketing side of things, I'm still sort of trying to like figure out how exactly to market myself better to smaller agencies. But like you guys said, that's like a more complicated conversation. And I guess in regards to the like technical aspects, like the scrolling and all that kinds of stuff, this portfolio is still like quite new, so I haven't tested it for cross-browser compatibility. I mainly use like Chrome and like Windows, so it works there. But I have to like run some like what is it called? Like emulators for Safari and like other browsers to make sure that it works across the board.
100%. I am curious if when you're targeting your businesses, do you already know what kinds of small businesses you want to get? For example, some people like to work with small businesses that are founders and startups. And so they know to appeal to like a founder startup language. If you're getting commissions and you like getting commissions from those people, do you already know like where those people are? Because you could say, for example, down here about yourself, developer profile, multidisciplinary creative developer, 3 years front end experience working with various other industries. It's
Mm,
like, I mean, could you plug in your industries here? Do you think you could put that in there and then
yeah,
even say like speak to like helping XYZ industry reach XYZ goal?
that's true. Yeah, I guess I could specify a little bit more. That does kind of touch on a problem that I'm having right now too, where it's like the kinds of clients that I get are a little bit scattered. I've only had two big ones in the last year, with one of them being a small like marketing agency and the other one being like that like couple. So it's kind of like a very drastic like change. It's like one is very personal and then the other one is more organized. So I guess sort of like you're right. I think I could like rework some of the language to sort of like figure out where I want to be specifically. Hmm.
You
Nate,
know,
what
in
do you
regard
got
to
for
target
this?
audience here, well, I don't have a whole lot, but I think your goal is to position yourself as a contractor for that of a small creative agency. I think you've done that. Your website is very cool. It's got a lot of animation. It's it's very cool. I don't have a better word for it other than that. It certainly doesn't target me personally, and I think you are positioning yourself correctly for that of your target audience. I think you're doing great.
Okay. One question I do have though, with the UI here, I feel like this scroll thing is a pain point because there's scroll snapping, and to look through the projects, there's another scroll that you have to do. So one problem that I got from some other critiques is that like when they're scrolling through like the project list, if they reach the bottom, they end up like scrolling to another section when they don't mean to. So I was thinking of like maybe making the project lists take up like the whole vertical space of like the left side of the screen if you scroll up to the project section. Yeah, so like instead of having it be like at that bottom corner, maybe just extend it so that it goes a little bit up higher and it sort of like looks like one of those like I don't know if like game menu is like the right thing, but like all the projects are listed out so that the user doesn't necessarily have to like scroll like within there. But I'm not sure what the good call is for that.
So you do have some hierarchy issues going on where you see you have animations up here in this top right corner, which means users are directed to look up here. You have a big object and also background artifacts that direct users to look in the center here. And you also have a animated scroll bar on the right hand, which means that anything in that left hand menu is harder for users to instinctively look for because
Right.
now you're competing across all these other places. It would probably be stronger to move this to your center space right here. So it has like a similar positioning here. Or what you could do is move this to this corner space so it's consistent all the way throughout and adjust some of the background artifacting to reflect that new positioning that you're going for.
I see. Okay.
This one works really well though because you see like this bleeds into your center area. And so this this works. It's big enough to gather that attention. This shares the space very nicely. This is all these take up an adequate amount of room. If you want users to dwell here, to actually like truly spend time in this position, I can't even get there. It's like snapping on me. Could just be the engine I'm using for my browser though. This, if you want users to interact with this, you're gonna have to hide it a little bit less. Otherwise, it's
Right.
gonna feel like a very like a little footnote over here.
That's true. I mean, one thing, I don't know if it like works on your browser. Like the idea I was going with originally that I might scrap is that with each of those projects, like when you hover on them, it shows like a thumbnail in like the larger section there. But I'm realizing that like just now watching you go through it, most people don't hover on the projects that long. They kind of want to just like skim through stuff and click stuff. So I might have to like scrap that idea or maybe do what you said and like make things more center positioned and less like dependent on waiting for the user to like I don't know, like stay somewhere.
Yeah, I would and this might depend on screen size. I'm actually considering a suggestion maybe taking this little thing here you have here. And if you want to put it maybe underneath this section right here, it might fit a little bit nicer and take up your space without being like too destructive. Because right now you are separating your work from your identity. And I think people will probably stop here to read this nice little section here and connect with you personally. But you haven't told them why they should interact with any of this content yet. This is one thing that's called like part of your trust ladder, right? Is that you tell people why something matters before you ask them to take an action on that thing that matters. And so if you haven't told me, if you haven't convinced me enough about yourself, about who you are and that you're the person I want to work with, you haven't yet convinced me to spend time looking at your work yet.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. Interesting.
I do like the effect though. I do like this effect is pretty cool. Yeah.
I wanted to mention real fast. I didn't even discover the project section. I hadn't hovered over it. And I don't know if that pattern is shared amongst many, but you've got a testimonial evidence of one now that describes the project section needs a little bit more clarity.
Right. That's true. And I guess another thing, I like added like a theming system in there. So because I see some comments mentioning differentiating the background from the foreground. Like you can, I'm not sure if that issue still persists between like light and dark mode. There's like a hamburger menu that you can click that sort of like allows you to go through the site. Ooh, I don't know if it. Oh, okay. I guess it does work.
It works. I checked it out on my side.
Oh,
I am going to comment though that your grid here does you no favors. This grid
okay.
is not aligned enough with the text that's inside of itself. And so it actually clashes a lot more than I think it supports. If you wanted to, if you want to like go ahead and move some of your grid around, I like it's cool. Like it's a cool idea. Just this implementation of it, you can see like it's very rigid, very structured. And then all of your content pieces and their hover states, they don't actually fit inside that grid, which is very unsatisfying. Oh, you do have a theming
Okay.
system. Honestly, why not just surface this sooner? Like, is there a reason that you have this hidden in your hamburger menu?
I guess because I didn't want to, like, if you look at the positioning of it, the animated scroll bar is on the right. So if I put the theming system there or on the left, I feel like it might have cluttered the UI. So I felt like I wanted to make it more like the users using like an app. Like usually you go to the settings to try and like switch the theme or like switch the language. So I figured that putting it inside of the menu might work a little bit better.
Yeah, my reality check with you. It's very cool.
Mm.
But sorry for flashbanging in. My reality check for you is that when people are hiring, they typically do like a 30-second, like, is this someone I want to work with before they like dive into something seriously. And then it's about then you're working with user what's it called? It's like there's like a battery. They have like a certain cognitive load that they can take, and you have to be careful what aspects of that battery and that load you take up first. So if
Right.
you do want users to go into your hamburger menu and explore cool features, I personally doubt that they're going to be inclined to do so. It's probably not something that they're likely to do. But they could. They could. I think you should surface those features so they have one less layer to click into. Otherwise, it's a little too
Yeah.
hidden.
Okay. That makes sense. So I guess what I'm gathering is like for one, like work on more like technical stuff. So making sure that it works well across like different browsers and like, you know, just like the small little micro stuff like the snapping, the background artifacts, like making sure all that stuff is optimized. And then on the presentation side of things, sort of just making sure that I'm more specific with who I'm marketing myself to, and when I do that in the site. So like making sure that people know who I am and like what services I provide before I like show them my projects and stuff. And then also your suggestion of adding some sort of like interactive thing at the start that lets people sort of like know what I do or see like if I'm sort of like worth hiring. Um, just so that they can like I don't know, like mess around on the site and see like if it's like fun. Okay. Yeah, I mean
We
this is
might
my
need,
my
yeah,
first time
you
doing
got
this, so
it. You got it. Yeah. It's also interesting. You are using so again, just knowing your audience is really key important, and understanding like if you're using any sort of symbols or terminology on your website that are going to either appeal or unappeal to certain people, right? If, for example, if I was a corporate, I'm a corporate entity and I want to hire a creative developer, if I come to your website here, I may not be inclined to like your website or think that you're the right person because of some of the casual nature here. However,
right.
this casual nature probably appeals really well to other audiences and people. And so, because you're already niching yourself right on the outset from your design language, you're going to have to lean into that even more.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if there's anything else. I mean, I feel like you guys tackled it all.
Yeah. Animation, anytime you use animations, make sure performance is good. And then, yeah, just don't lose. I'll click on one of these just so they've been clicked on. Oh my goodness. I think I clicked on the play. Is this the play one or is this the work one?
Uh,
Looks like,
this is one of my work projects, I believe.
It's very cool. Tim, I am looking at the clock. We got to move on to the next one here shortly.
We do. All right. I'd love to get into talk about more of these later on. And good job with your persistent theming. Your theming sticks between pages, which is not a small feat sometimes. So great work with that. Very cool stuff. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Thanks for all of the feedback. It's really useful.
Next on the list is Ben. And I am fearful that I have the portfolios open in the incorrect order now. Or maybe I've missed
I don't think Ben is here right now.
Ben? Moving on. Next, we're moving toward Joseph.
Joseph, come on, join us. Joseph, did we review your... No, I think we've reviewed someone else on Behance last time, though.
Yeah, good evening. Good evening.
Joseph, I can faintly hear... I can hear something from your mic. It's not clear if you said something, though. Give Joseph a second to
Hello.
calibrate. Hello.
Good evening from Nigeria. Yeah,
Good evening.
I'm Joseph, and I'm a UI UX designer. I'm still new to the field, and I've been working on most projects and just some jobs to just try to get perfect in this. This is my BNC, my portfolio, and I have some works there I'd like you to look at. Cool.
Okay, sounds good. Now, Joseph, when we're chatting today, what would you like us to focus on for you?
All right, there is a case study of a UJet app. So I'd like you to check out my case study.
Are there any in particular?
Yeah, the UJet one, the one at the last part, the UJet.
Okay.
Yeah, that one.
Okay, great. We'll go ahead and take a look at this. Now, since you're positioning as a freelance and full-time UXI designer, I'm going to be looking
Yes, sir.
specifically for thought process, artifacts that show like your in-between work, maybe some of the messy parts of it, as well as polished UI that then kind of hold it all together, and your like well-communicated ideas.
Really fast, Tim. I think
Sorry,
I may have missed the goal again. Joseph, were you describing your goal was to get hired at a larger organization, or were you wanting to stick with freelance?
To get hired at another organization, actually.
Get hired at a larger company. Got it. Understood.
Okay, so right at the top, I'm seeing we have a name, we have a logo, we have some UI that's kind of hidden in the back over here, and then we have your name up front, and then as well as like possibly your tool stack. I'm going to comment that including UI UX as a case study label right here actually makes your work look more amateur. That this often is like a deterrent for people who are valuing this, rather than letting them have, this like letting the suspension of belief of like, this is a real project you worked on. Yajit, I do appreciate that you are outlining though something more along like the industry, which is probably good for your search engine optimization here about fintech mobile app, rather than the name of the company, which people will not be able to tell what it does from the name alone.
Okay.
Sounds good. Lots of gradients as well. Gradients, I think the gradient is probably a little too strong here.
Hey, Joseph, earlier Tim had mentioned the 3 target audiences in regard to case studies if one's goal is to get hired at a larger organization. Were you around for that conversation? Happy to talk about that again.
Yes, I was around for it.
All right, perfect. Did you need a refresher or you've got all of that in your mind?
All of that. I got
Perfect. All right, cool. So when I'm
Did you
taking a look at case studies,
when you built this artifact here, was this built inside of Figma?
Sorry, can you come again?
Yeah. So did you build this as like a large ping or PDF inside of Figma?
Yes, I built it on Figma. Then I exported it as an image.
Okay, cool. I'm going to recommend that one of the things you go back and do inside that image is create more space and be more intentional in some of your layouts. Since you're using Figma, you have the freedom of positioning anything anywhere. But you're going to notice that a lot of times you have the spacing is very tight and it's not giving enough room to breathe. So I'd go back and I'd add a little bit of room between elements. Just give yourself a little bit more space in there. Let it breathe a little bit more. Additionally, kind of softening up this gradient here. It's cool that you are matching. You're matching your theme throughout. That's really good. So you have like green. It's green over here as well. However, this ends up being too strong. Soften this up. And make sure that this gray can pass contrast wherever it is. It might already pass, but just kind of double checking that. Coming down here, your layout starts to get a little bit like super wonky. Like you're putting these images over here, which distract me from looking at the information that's actually really important. I would either remove these images or I would move these images back into this layout here. So either contextualize about like this is a student, this is an image of a student, this is a young worker, this is an image of a young worker, etc. Otherwise, I don't think these images are adding any value to your artifact here. I think instead this ends up being, it just looks very messy. You're kind of missing this. Additionally, you're also talking about like your product users here, like target audience, but you haven't qualified why these are your target audience. One of the things I'm looking for is that as I'm reading your case study, I'm looking for your thought process. I'm looking for how you justify decisions and actions. Remember, if I want to hire you, I want to trust that you're making good decisions on my team, that you're going to be able to do the things the right way. And so you have up here modern mobile first budgeting app for young people to easily track expenses, etc. You haven't included though what kind of market this is. If this is like a truly big thing, which is okay, you're not doing product design, you're doing UX design. But then down here, UX designers should know why their target audience is their target audience, and understanding and explaining a little bit more behind each of these people. Getting into your process, I'm seeing the keys here, and you see that these are nice inside of your layout. It does end up being a little bit messy once you get down here to observe observations. Is there a reason you chose this this kind of layout here, or did this maybe export incorrectly?
Yeah, the reason I actually chose it was just to play around that section, just to have like just for the user to have just for the viewer to have an insight, like something playful to just look around with.
Okay, well, I would anchor these observations to something a little bit better. You have quantitative research. You conduct an online survey. You haven't talked anything else about this survey, about your strategy, about your methods, about who is in there, about some of the more valuable aspects of like your survey. Like this is a really valuable thing to be able to do, research. A lot of people don't know how to do research. And if you can convince me right here in this little section that you know how to do research, and therefore your observations are important and valuable because you know how to do your research, that increases the impact of a section like this. And then framing these in terms of the UX language, which would be usability problems or UX challenges or other just other pieces of that full thing about why, making sure that each of these have their own impact, because I don't know, these just end up reading a little bit, they're not tied. They don't seem important to me yet about like spend mostly on food. I don't know. Maybe I'm missing too much context here, but this ends up feeling a little weird and interesting here. Nate, is there anything you want to dive into up to this point in the case study?
Heck yeah, I've got a couple of things written down here. So let's start high level real fast. You're currently utilizing Behance as your portfolio tool. Is there a friction point? So one of the advantages and disadvantages to Behance is your goal to eventually move toward a personal website?
Sorry, is the goal to do what, please?
Is the goal to build a personal website portfolio and move away from Behance?
Yes, that's actually the goal, and also to push it to investors that are actually willing to get involved in the fintech app. That's just the goal.
Got it. Good news. That's great news. The Behance has advantages and disadvantages. If one's goal is getting hired at a larger organization, Behance will have more sacrifices than benefits for you. So eventually the goal to transfer into a personal site, that's going to do a lot for you. Looking at the case study, there are a couple of things we can talk about here. We are missing a section of like housekeeping shenanigans at the top. And this is specifically for that recruiter persona. The recruiter is going to open your case study and they want to know a couple of high level things. What did you do? What was your role here in this particular project? How long was the project? Was there a budget with the project? Like that housekeeping stuff at the very top that just hits the checkbox that the recruiter can say, yeah, he has achieved these things. So real quick, and that enables recruiters to scan through your case study real fast. Super helpful there. I think one of the larger areas for opportunity on your case studies, probably diving into some of the storytelling. Now, reading through the actual textual content, you're actually leaning into it. You're leaning into storytelling pretty well. Tim, if you scroll to the very top to like the project overview problem statement section, if we look at these paragraphs and the way you've written them, like the problem statement, many young people struggle to manage their finances due to lack of simple, culturally relevant and flexible budgeting tools. Like you're telling a story here in this context. There's a quick fix we can do here in regard to your titling. So when folks are looking at your case study, recruiters, hiring managers, everybody, they're not going to read the entire case study, but they will scroll through, skim through your stuff, find a section that they want to read more about that section specifically, and then continue on skimming and scrolling. So one of the challenges we have is how can we tell a story for those that skim? And one of the best ways we can do this is through titling. So right now, people are going to read your titles, product users, objectives, and goals. Those titles people will read. So now we can try to tell a story specifically in titles. This is like one of those really nifty quick tricks we can do. So if we were to tally up all of your titles, just list your titles on a page, those titles tell the story. In your current state, probably not. They feel more like checkboxes. Like if I scroll through, we find a product users or target audience section. Then we find an our process section, quantitative research section. So these feel like checkboxes that enable you to say, yep, I've done that. And now I'm moving on to the next checkbox and I've done that, which is fine, but it doesn't tell a story. So instead of saying something like quantitative research instead of that title, could we instead replace that title with more deeply understanding audiences or better understanding the problem, like a title that best represents the problem you're trying to solve for that particular section? How's that sounding so far? Is that making sense?
Making a lot of sense.
Yeah. And if you're able to achieve that, if you're able to change your titles into telling that story more in depth, bam, you've got the skimming folk solved for, which is awesome because that's the majority of the audiences taking a look at your thing. When I'm looking at a case study, pivoting thoughts now, when I'm looking at a case study, I'm typically looking for 3 questions to be answered. Question number 1 is, what's the problem you're trying to solve? You've done that. Question number 2 is, how did you go about solving that problem? And you've done a lot of that. I see a lot of process-oriented stuff here. And then question number 3 is, how did you validate success that the problem was in fact solved? And that's a section that I'm not yet seeing on your portfolio. Now, if you're new to the industry, which it sounds like you are, that section is less impactful. When it comes to novice folk entering the industry, Not a lot of folk will have the ability there to measure success. That's typically a skill set regarded for like the moderate, mid levels, senior levels, and above, that sort. So if your goal is to position yourself at a higher elevation at some point, then contemplate adding that validation section. Here are the metrics that we've gathered along the way. Here's how we validated that the momentum of the application was moving in the correct trajectory, that sort. Outside of that, I think your case study does a lot of stuff correctly. I think it describes the process well. You've got a lot of visual artifacts. Your ratio of text to imagery, I think, is pretty solid. You could potentially even lean more into imagery, though I say that with the asterisk that when I say that, a lot of people think, oh, remove textual content. Not really what I mean. What I mean is there's always more opportunity to take your textual content and turn it into some sort of visual. So rather than removing it and not saying it, say it with imagery instead. Always the opportunity to lean more into that. But outside of that, I think your case study does a lot of stuff right, and I think you're well on your way. Tim, those are the list of thoughts I have written down. Any yes ands to any of that?
One, I've got two. One that's maybe a little bit more relevant for you, but then a second idea that'll be part of your constraints. One, I think making it look a little bit simpler. By simpler, I mean bigger. And you can do tricks of making something look bigger by adding more space, by letting things breathe a little bit more. I think that will benefit you a lot here because it does get very noisy and very busy looking. And adding that space around things and letting things be a little bit softer. So like getting rid of some of the sharper gradients, letting things fall inside their layouts more often will benefit the visual noise and clutter of your thing here a lot. The second thing that I'm going to comment on, this is something just to be thinking about. Behance's goal, and we've talked about this in the past too, Behance's goal is not for people to hire you. Their goal is for people to pay for them. Behance wants people to sign up for Behance. And so their goal is not necessarily to say, hey, Joseph's the guy, hire Joseph. Their goal is say, hey, you've come here to look at designers. How can I make you pay for Pro so you stay on Behance more? How can you get more value out of my product? And so Adobe is competing with you in this case on your platform. And the constraints that Adobe is giving you are going to ultimately hurt you in the long run. Maybe not right away, but in the long run, they might hurt. So I would side with Nate on saying you should consider for true freedom, ownership of your content here, consider finding a way to create a website or something that allows you to put this information into a place that you get to control. When people get to the end of your page and your content, you get to control what they do. Instead of me going down here and it wants me to do Behance stuff, I'm able to focus mostly on you and your content. So those are my last two thoughts for you. And I think we unfortunately do have to keep moving forward because of time constraints.
Thank you very much for those. I really appreciate. I'll take to those corrections. Thank you very much.
Super appreciate the time. Looking at the list, next up we've got Akin _ Maladun. Moladun? I'm so sorry. I'm sure I'm screwing that up and mispronouncing that. And for the folk that's left on the list, we've got V ! TN, Mia.
I actually have Snake. Is it not Snake? Oh, it is. You're right. Sorry. You're right.
For the other folks on the list, this will likely be our last one with the remaining 20 minutes. So if we're not getting to you today, feel free to hang out with us next Friday. We do this every Friday, 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time to 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Feel free to arrive early. Toss your thing in there. I usually open the floor on here 10 minutes earlier or so. We'd love to talk with you next week instead.
And while we get this started, we're going to play a very, very short game, which is in the chat. Post what you think Nate's age is and what you think my age is. I'm curious to see how old you guys think we are. We're not going to reveal the truth, But since there are some allegations of apparently I look 12, we're just gonna just put how old you think we are, how old you think we look, how old you think we sound, whatever you guess. Just curiosity, and then let's go ahead and get into Ken. Now, Ken, do you want to tell us a little bit about who you are, what we should call you today, and then what kind of designer you are?
All right. Hi. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
All right. So my name is Akin. Call me Akin.
Okay. Aki, tell us a little about the work you do and then your industries.
All right. So I'm a graphic designer. My main focus on graphics are UI designs, branding, logo design, and more of web flow, web designs too. And I have a background experience on front end development. Yeah.
Okay. Very cool. And then is your goal to get hired right now?
Yeah.
And who would you like to hire you? Like the type of company, like full time, you're looking at enterprise, you're looking at startups, you're looking at SaaS. Do you know who you would like to hire you? What kind of company?
Oh, did we lose you?
I think we lost audio.
Akin, are you able to hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay. You came back. Nice. Can you tell us about who you'd like to hire you? What kind of company?
Oh, I said full-time companies and startup companies. Those are my two main focus.
Full-time startup. Okay. Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Hey, it's you. At least I think it's you. I don't know what you look like, so this could be you. It could also not be you. We'll not see.
Yeah, that's me. That's me.
Very nice. Very nice. Very clean looking. Oh, with a little bit of a nice pulse there. All right. Do you want us to look at your homepage or do you want us to dive into a case study? What should we focus on? Where can we give you the most valuable feedback?
I'll kind of like say everything, but like brief for each one of them.
Brief
Danny, do
overview
you
on
wanna-
the works.
Yeah. Do you want to tackle a project and I'll do the homepage real quick?
Yeah, sounds good. I'm gonna dive into the On Cafe project if that works for you, Akin.
All right.
By the way,
so-
how do I best pronounce your name?
It's Akin, not Akin. Akin.
Akin?
Yeah.
Perfect.
That's good.
All right, appreciate talking with you. Tim, take over.
We'll just on this landing page. So we have a lot of good stuff happening. Animation in the background that's subtle without being crazy back here. Very strong header. I don't know how to say this full name here, but I will forego therefore saying it. You have some interesting. You have lots of things that are kind of competing for attention though. Once you get past the initial layout, we have a tag up here for UX, UI graphic designer, your name, and then multidisciplinary designer specializing graphic web. So we're missing something specific here. This ends up feeling very generic, especially this tagline right here. Let's build something remarkable together. This feels like an AI generated little end sentence. And I think what you're missing is this target audience that you shared with us about startups and full-time roles. So you could reposition this to say, I am a multidisciplinary. I wouldn't include multidisciplinary in this case, just for the sake of targeting your specific industry here. So you can say, I'm a UI, UX, and graphic designer specializing in web and product design. I transform ideas into powerful visuals that grow businesses for startups and early stage companies. Let's work together. So you can make it sound a little more human, but you can also target your audience directly inside of this. And that's a good way to introduce. There is a portfolio. So I'll try to find it later once Nate's talking. That does a really good example of this. I'll share that link in here so you can take a look at it. We do have a see all projects, which is good. And we have a contact now, which means you're targeting, you want people to talk with you. However, if you're not going freelance, if you're going for corporate and you want people to hire you, just recognize that people may not want to fill out a form to talk with you. And this may not be a high yield area. At the same time, you also have a contact now and a see all projects button. These are different fonts. You need to make sure these look very similar and speak the same language. So see all projects, contact now, they should look like they have similar typography families in here. You have a lot going on this page, but I appreciate that you do have you have this view project now, which tells me when it's active. There's just a little bit of animation. It's not too much. I can kind of tell that some of this is probably a Framer template that you're kind of using, and I don't hate it right away. But keep in mind that as someone viewing these projects, if you really want me to click on them, you have to tell me more about why they matter. So this On Cafe project, I do not know why On Cafe matters or what the actual like outcome of On Cafe was. I'm also seeing that On Cafe as an image is slightly off center. The word is. And I look over here at Harvest, it's also slightly off center. That could be a design choice that you're making. But if you look between all four of these images, they all look like slightly different languages, like image styles. I would probably harmonize these so they look a little bit more like they're all in the same website, like they're showing off in the same gallery, so they speak the same language, and also more content here to tell me about why they matter. So On Cafe, which was a project for this type of company that led to this impact. You got to convince me that it matters here. And then looking down here, I appreciate you have a section. You're not afraid to talk about yourself or to show you. You have little nice icons here. These are really dark. This might ding you on your SEO, but it does. I appreciate that you have it here. Any feedback up to that point here on this?
Partly that On Cafe, if you click on it, they actually like what the project is for. If you click on it, like they have like something written about the project.
I mean, I'm assuming that once we get in here, you'll tell me more about this project. But until then, I'm not convinced to click into it yet. And so you have to recognize that, when you're building a trust ladder, you have to convince someone to take actions. If you ask them to take actions without qualifying that request, they're probably going to say no.
All right.
And then coming down here, I'm seeing I'm not going to comment on the remainder of your website since we're just giving you a quick once over there. So we'll go ahead and we'll get into your actual case study now.
There's actually not much to review in regard to case studies. So how your case studies aesthetically look fantastic. You've got a lot of visual content here. It is currently positioning yourself as a graphic designer doing visual and branding. So if that's not your goal, if your goal is to target more user interface, UX, then would love to see more process-oriented stuff here. I'm pasting on the chat. This is a UX portfolio of somebody we've reviewed in the past, a lady named Carolyn, entry-level candidate into the job market. This is a case study, or this is a portfolio that has case studies that does a good job describing how a UX case study could be written. This portfolio does a lot of things right. It's very simple. It's straight to the point in a lot of cases. And their case study is written in a story format with a lot of process detail. So if your goal is to position yourself under the UX UI title, this case study in this format is probably more in line with what your hiring manager at the organization you're trying to get hired for. This is more to what they're expecting to see. Less on the visual side, less on the photo gallery side, more on the describing the process of how you solve problems side of things. How is that sounding? Is that making sense, Akeem?
Yeah. That's fine. That's okay.
Perfect. Outside of that, The visuals look great. Now you just need to describe the process along the way and describe some of the housekeeping stuff. Beyond that, the projects. So I looked at all your projects. They're all of that same nature. Now we just need to describe them. Tim, I can pass the mic back to you. The project section was fast.
Yeah. Okay. Well, passing it back over. So, do you want to look at any other of these case studies, or are they all pretty much the same?
They're all photo galleries, correct?
Okay. So yeah, this is going to position. Gotcha. Okay. So would you like us to continue reviewing your landing page, or do you want us to get into any more technical details, such as like layout styles? Oh, look at that. You have one H1. Congratulations for being one of the first people we've ever reviewed who only has one H1 tag here, and actually good formatting across your whole thing.
Thank you.
Actually deserves like a little clap. Good job. Good work with that. When we get, so if we jump down to here, process is everything. Is this a scroll? Is this scrollable?
No. Just if you move your cursor away from there, it will scroll by.
It's a little temperamental. We'll refresh our page and see if that helps out a little bit. Interesting. Just a little bit animated, but not a lot going on there. Okay, cool. Let's see what else you have here. Are you already successful as a freelancer right now?
Yes, but like on mid-level, not experts. Mid-level.
Okay. I'm seeing a lot of strong aspects on your landing page. The only complaint I would have is that there is so much on here that some of the value is getting buried in places. Right. And so typically I almost always recommend people having a little bit more space at their top section. Like taking this and just kind of extending the amount of room you give yourself to experience something. That way, when people get on here, they can appreciate what you're doing a little more instead of it kind of getting hidden and lost. And I think really the biggest catch I'm finding here is just like the amount of explanation that you're giving on the value of your projects. And so it seems like your projects are probably the weakest area, which is kind of weird because typically when you're getting hired by freelance, they want to see proof. They want to see like projects that you've previously done. And I think that if you were to advance or improve the amount of information you're sharing about each one of these, such as like if I was looking for a brand identity experience, talking about a little bit of your process, explaining more about the value of each of these, and even like including that right up here at the front, that like on cafe branding project, right? So then you can make these each of one of the parts of your service. Are you productizing your services at all?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Yeah. So if you were, I don't know, I guess you have a service section down here. So I would make each of these, like I would tie these to your services. So, if you have a service that is logo design, then you do like on cafe logo design service, right? And so then you're anchoring these as projects that reflect your services right away. So I know your value before I even have to go hunting for your services all the way down here. Otherwise, I think your trust ladder is pretty good. I mean, there's so much stuff here. There's so much. And that might be the only thing is that there's so much that I will probably never get to the end of this page to see your testimonial section. Just because I have to scroll so much. But maybe if I was deliberating for a long time as a freelance person, I might get there. So I don't know, Nate. Do you have an opinion on that?
No, not particularly.
I think what I'm meaning to communicate is that there is not much more feedback to give. Like it's overall, it's very nice. It's a little heavy on the animations. And sometimes being heavy on the animations is good because it attracts clients. You might be able to clean up your animations just a tiny, tiny bit. You may be able to improve the title of your web page. Your title is a little bit is missing some of your value. I've seen people who position when they want to scale up, they actually name their homepage the impact that they're leading. For example, there's one guy who is making over $250,000 a year in the US as a single man studio, which is like a crazy, crazy number. He only has like 4 clients a year, but he does it because he's named his website like his impact that he drives. And so when people are looking for his impact, they find his website and they hire him for it. So even though his name is not the name of his impact, he has a studio instead. He just attracts people through the SEO machine by naming after his impact experience here. Additionally, if you are wanting to level up, you might want to own your own domain. That might be a little bit nicer. It might give you a little more control over your SEO and let you do some advanced moves that let you attach things like your schema, which will help you get found a little more often in your rankings, and also improve your open graph and also your analytics. You can also submit through Index Now. This plugin is called detailed SEO. I should make my own Chrome extension. That'd be really fun. Yeah, no, I honestly though I don't have a lot of other feedback for you on this. Your structure is good. Your trust ladder is present. It needs a little bit more information that is a little bit more harmonious between itself. You have nice little artifacts that kind of help create a sense of motion on here, but it is a little heavy-handed in some places, and maybe that's okay for you.
Right. I think I'll make some changes to what you have told me.
At least make this button typography match the other button typography. It could be one or the other.
Okay.
But they got to be the same. So.
All right, no problem.
Tim, I'm looking at the clock. We are more or less at time. Did we want to reveal our ages? Was that the goal?
Sure. What I didn't even look. What did people think we were? It's more of just a fun experiment to see what people thought. How far do we have to scroll?
I think they think I am younger than I am. I think they think you're older than you are, which is good. Well, I mean, pros and cons. Not good. Is that good?
Let's see. 27, 15, 12.
12.
Unfortunately, guys, our server is only for 13 and older. So if I was 12, you'd have to kick me out.
Mm-hmm. There's some close calls for me, though. I'm 36. Tim, how old are you?
I'm 27.
I think they nailed you. I think they were right on top of you.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty close. And I have 2 kids. My family lives in this house, as you can see here. I have some bookshelves. If anyone else is Tiffany, listen. I was 15 once, so in that sense, you were accurate.
If it makes it feel better, Tim, I announced I was 36, and Mia wrote bummer.
Look, it's all downhill after 30, right? That's what they say.
Someone ban Mia. She's blocked. Friends, I was going to start concluding. Did you have something else?
No, I'm trying to think if there's any. I'm looking through my own history. Let me close my stream so I can go through my history a little bit easier. I'm looking for a website that I found that was a really good example of stuff something. Let me see if I can find it.
Of stuff something? A case study?
Of a landing page value proposition.
Mm. God, Gracio was close. Gracio, between both of us, or Grace IO, between both of us was only 2 years off.
That's pretty good.
Well, friends, while Tim is looking for this and pulling this thing up, this is Feedback Friday. We go 2 hours. We've hit the end of our session today. We do this every Friday, 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time to 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, or now. We'd love to hang out with you. We'd love to see your stuff in the future. If you are desperate in need of getting your stuff reviewed, come slightly early, 10 minutes early or so. You can paste your link in there, and then you're guaranteed to be one of the first ones. Oh, and I should also add, if you are new here, feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel, where all of the stuff we talked about today is recorded, uploaded, shared with the rest of the world. The benefit there being that if you need to take notes, you are always welcome to go back and watch the YouTube video afterward. But also feel free to subscribe, and you can get tuned into the later ones as well as some content that Tim and I will produce at some point.
You just reminded me. Everyone needs to go to this link here. I'm pasting it. It is a message. Wow, it did the. Why did it do that?
What happened, Tim?
Why did it do that link?
What are you trying
It
to
added
do?
a bracket because it's trying to format it as Markdown. Let me try again. There we go. Yep. See, it did the Markdown thing where it's trying to mark down the link. Okay. What? So this message. Hopefully, let me click on it. Let me see if it goes there. Design Buddies is nominated within a community. Mia, we got it. This is from Grace. This message is from Grace. Okay. Grace wants us to help her with the nomination for Design Buddies. So if you think Design Buddies is good at their community engagement, which guys, we're here on a Friday morning doing community engagement, go ahead and let them know that Design Buddies is highly rated. This will help us out quite a bit, get more people to notice us. This also helps when Design Buddies does they do sponsorships for other education programs. We have something called design. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. We have cohorts though. We have design cohorts that you can join that this goes towards as well. So this is a really big way to help out Design Buddies. Co-create. Thank you. The co-create cohorts. So helping Design Buddies kind of be seen and voting for us on your community voting thing does a lot for us. I'm just going to stop talking now. I'm going to keep looking for this. I know I saw this.
I'm excited to see what you're pulling up. The hype is real now. We've been waiting some time.
It may never surface. I can't. I'm looking. The thing is, I saved everything inside of Arc. I had a very good system when I was saving links inside of Arc, and now I no longer have a system for saving references.
Do you have any opinions about Arc?
I know a fishhook when I see one.
We'll just let that silence linger for a little bit. I really tried to like Comet. I didn't use the AI features much, so I ended up shifting back to Brave. But I don't love Brave either. I'm not in love with any of my browsers, Tim. I wish I had a browser I was in love with.
Me too.
Mm-hmm. Maybe if that Opera thing becomes cool again. Is Opera cool? Does anybody here use Opera?
I don't think it's available for people yet.
Well, just like generic Opera, not the new AI Opera. Ronaros is talking about Zen. Tim, you've got opinions on Zen.
Yeah, Zen's great for it's a Firefox version of. It's essentially not tit for tat, but it is essentially a Firefox engine version of Arc. Arc is based on Chrome. Zen is based on Firefox.
Or is Firefox still using Gecko? I haven't looked it up in a long time.
Guys, I think this link is gone forever. I don't think I'll ever be able to find it.
Tom, I gotta say, for Edge, I come from the IE days, being 36 years old, as we've established in the chat. I have used Internet Explorer for a long time. Not a fan with the rest of the crowd. Edge is kind of great though. Like Edge, it's just Chrome. I have nothing against Edge, except Microsoft, which is fine. I feel like my own rhetoric there was kind of a roller coaster.
I'm gonna stay on until I find it, but you can end the stream, etc. I'm gonna find this link because it was a very cool website.
I will